Rick Henry. Welcome to Private Club Radio.
Thank you, Gabe. It's a pleasure to join you.
And we were just talking about your excellent panel discussion that you moderated. It was how to survive and thrive with changes in leadership. Can you give folks a little bit of a background on that and some of your takeaways from that session?
Wasn't that a fun discussion?
It absolutely was.
The panelists, for those who were not present, the panelists were Michael Bruni, a former director at the Olympia Fields Country Club in suburban Chicago, Bruce D'Angelo, the standing president at Medina Country Club in Chicago, Michael Seabrook, who is the CEO, general manager at the historic Belle Meade Country Club in Nashville, Tennessee, his president, Bert Dale, who is, as I said, is his sitting president. And then rounding out the group is Kirk Reeves, who has tremendous country club experience, having managed the LA Country Club out on the West Coast, and is currently executive vice president at Dennehy Club Thinking Partners. So it was a great group. We talked a lot about the impacts of changes in leadership on private clubs. And that gave us a chance to talk a little bit about some lessons learned from each of those men in their service to the club, as well as some best practices that they could recommend as a result of their experience.
Yeah, were there any nuggets or just some golden advice? If there's one, big tip that you took away, what would it be?
I felt that the real nuggets that came from these people was that clubs prosper when their leaders engage in deliberate planning. Every one of the panelists, in one way or another, talked about the amount of time and effort they put in to the plan that their club is using and how they implement that plan in a consistent and effective manner. The other takeaway that I thought was just as impactful as strategic planning was the significance of disciplined governance in the clubs. We live in a time now where club members expect their club to be governed like a successful business.
Right. Exactly. And I think so often they're not, which is strange because it's generally the board is made up of business leaders.
Yes. And the irony on that is sometimes terrific business leaders who run banks and corporations and other professional organizations of great success get to the club and for some reason or another stop thinking of it as a business and instead thinking of it in the emotional context of their club.
Exactly. Well, let's talk a little bit about your business, Global Golf Advisors. What are some of the things that you guys are focusing on right now?
Well, Global Golf Advisors is a company that's been in business since 1992. In fact, it's the largest consulting firm in the world that specializes entirely in golf-related businesses. About 60-70% of our work is in fine private clubs, and the bulk of that activity is focused in really three categories. One is the all-encompassing or the all-enveloping premise of strategic planning. We have had the privilege of developing strategic plans for hundreds of private clubs in North America. The second thing we see a lot of in these troubled times and coming out of that recessionary cycle was a lot of clubs that began to question their operational model and their operational efficiencies. Mm-hmm. So we spend a good deal of time with boards and club leaders in analyzing their operational methods and models to be sure that they're buying right, selling right, pricing properly, and using all of the business metrics that make a board well-informed. And then the third category of our activity where we spend a great deal of time because it's so vitally important is in governance. The famous quote attributed to Peter Drucker is that culture eats strategy for breakfast. And the matter is, in a private club, culture is governance. How the club conducts its business, how the club disciplines its members, what standards the club imposes on its members, those are the things that go to culture and are all carried on the back of governance.
I like the way you put that. What are some of the trends in governance that you're seeing emerge?
Oh, there are several that jump right off the page at you. The first is the shrinking size of club boards. Currently, in fact, our most recent survey of top clubs showed that the average board size is 9.2, and that is down from over 11 only 3 years ago. So a steady and progressive decline in the number of people participating on boards. Another important change that we are seeing is that most clubs are now opting to make the term of office for the president of the club a 2-year term, up from 1 year.
Right.
And over 8% of the clubs that responded to our survey indicated that they have now gone to a 2-year term. And the reasons are so obvious, and that certainly came up in our panel discussion in Chicago at NCA, and that was about the time a good president really starts learning how to do his or her job, their term is up.
Right.
So, club leadership becomes so much more effective when the sitting president has the time and capability to really start to implement their understanding of the club.
I've heard it mentioned a few times as well that sometimes clubs will actually have, it's mandatory that they've served on the board for a certain amount of years before they can then become the incoming president. And basically, when all is said and done, they've been on the board for maybe as much as 9 years before they actually become a president. And boards that operate that way seem to run a lot better. Is that your experience as well?
Yes, and Gabe, that came out in the panel discussion of club leaders in Chicago as well. And that was having the opportunity to observe your fellow members in committee service to the club, in board service to the club over an extended period of time, helps everyone to become better acquainted. And frankly, it helps to reveal the people who are going to genuinely be dedicated to the things that are best for the club versus the things that simply are their favorite topic or pet project. So extended service to the club is a great way of finding out the capabilities of any given group of club leaders.
Well said, Henry. So last thing I want to ask you about is your company's support of the National Club Association at such a high level. What do you love about this organization?
Well, first and foremost, we believe deeply in the importance of club managers. We believe that is a worthy profession, and we certainly respect the role of servant leadership that club managers and then the directors of the clubs undertake in service to their fellow members. You know, the capability of servant leadership is one that demands tremendous giving, tremendous generosity of spirit, and tremendous discipline in terms of being able to remain focused on the mission and vision of the club. So in any way that we can support the National Club Association, its member clubs, and their managers, we're going to find every opportunity that we can to do so.
And if listeners would like to engage with your firm, how should they go about that?
Our website is globalgolfadvisors.com, and it's an opportunity for you to see who we are, what we do, and to get a sense of the reach of our company. Our home office is in Toronto. I manage our office in Phoenix, Arizona. We also have an office in Dublin, Ireland. We serve over 2,700 clients around the world, so there's a lot to learn and to see about us when you visit our website, which I hope people will do.
globalgolfadvisors.com. Thank you so much, Henry.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.